Okay, guys, the game is done. I've had a night to really take everything in, go through everything, and honestly, I feel there's a lot of positives to be taken from this game. Yes, it is a loss to the Lions, but it was up against a very strong Argentina side. They're not a side that, would be taken down easily. Yes, it was essentially a Lions B team, considering all the players that were not available. You have your Andrew Porter, you got your Dan Sheehan's, you got your Finn Russells of the world that are classified as the best in their own positions. Outside of Porter, where I rate Oxenche just above him, but even then, not by much. And yeah, that's just personal opinion. But honestly, there were a lot of positives that can be taken from this game. I find we saw a lot of partnerships being built. We saw a lot of players, rightfully so, frustrated, as we did see Ellis Genge, when he got taken off, you could tell that he was a little peed off. I think a lot of the players understand and know that performance should have done better. They should have performed better. Andy Farrell said it in his press conference. He's unhappy with the performance. There's still a lot of improvements to be had, but yeah, he can't blame that. Oh, they didn't, because it's a fresh squad. They don't know each other. He said, "Look, I'm not going to give you that excuse." But honestly, in my opinion, this is a good start. It could have started off better, but it wasn't. It was promising, right? Because we look at a lot of the players. Henry Pollock, when he came on, he was a bit lackluster. He was a bit quiet. There were certain players that they were handled very well. I felt Argentina handled Curry well. They handled Morgan very, very well, because when those players are given free roam, they're very, very difficult to stop. I feel Mauro Itoje didn't have that same kind of presence that he normally has when he's on the field, whether he's playing for the Saracens or whether he's playing for England. I'm not saying he's had a bad game, but I say it could have been better. I don't know, I just felt that intensity just wasn't there at points. It could have been Argentina defending very, very well, because they do that very, very well. But I just feel at points, you kind of felt that there was a breakthrough going to be happening. You felt that something was going to happen, and then boom, it doesn't. Right? Argentina, they just managed to grab hold. They just managed to put that little bit of additional pressure. They managed to defend very, very well. But what Argentina had was they found those little spaces, and we saw time and time again where we would see Argentina break clean through, and the Lions are just standing all the way at the back looking at them run. That I feel, although it was a weaker side of the Lions that we are going to be seeing, I believe, up against the Western Force next week, there's a lot of improvements to be had. There's a lot of partnerships that are still building. Honestly, I was really happy with Tommy Freeman. Tommy Freeman had a really, really good game. He barely set foot wrong, and then when he did, I felt he was actually in a very, very good position where the ball went up high. He went to grab, but I think he went to grab and try to continue running, and it just slipped out of his hands. But he's had a pretty solid performance. I can't really knock him. But honestly, even the substitutions that came on, I just feel that there wasn't that cohesion. But again, that's going to come in time. Unfortunately, they don't have that much time. But there are lots of positives to be taken out of this game. There are lots of players that are still improving as well. But I don't know, I just feel, and something I feel Andy Farrell expects, is that ride or die mentality. Like Jack Morgan. If you pass him, he's going to be jumping and clawing and everything at you, even just to grab hold of your ankle, just to stop you from passing. We saw Sione Tuipulotu. Every time he was on the ball, he was breaking, he was breaking tackles. He was slipping people. He was evading people. But I just feel at points there just wasn't the, what's the word? There wasn't the support, right? And we saw this multiple times. Whoever it was running, and oftentimes it would be Sione Tuipulotu, where he makes the break. He goes in, he's got a bit of free space. Someone manages to get hold of him, and you can see him looking, where can I lay off to? Who is there for me to lay off? No one's there, no one's really there. They're there, but they're not really there, open for the pass. And he goes down, moves on into the ruck, and all of a sudden, okay, now that line of play is now gone, where it could have followed through. Now they need to go through phase, right? Instead of that layoff, into the next. But honestly, I hate knocking Alex Mitchell. I feel Alex Mitchell did not have a very good game. If this was Gibson Park, we would have seen a completely different game. At points, I felt he was slow to the mark. I felt his passing was a little bit weak, and he needed to be that driving force to really push on. And I felt he could have had a better game. Again, this could very well be down to how well Argentina defended, and the back rows for Argentina were monstrous. They were monstrous. So I don't know. I just wanted to give my general thoughts. I'm not unhappy with this game. As a big Lions fan, I saw so many positives. I was like, okay, look, yes, this player was here. This player was here. Okay, they didn't, they didn't anticipate this to happen. But again, when you're playing with people, when you're training with them week in, week out, you're going to pick up on their habits. You're going to pick up on how they run, how they walk, how they talk, how, you're going to learn them. So when you're in the game, you are going to feel it much better. I don't know how other than to say you will feel it. When you play rugby, you get a bond with these players. You understand how they think. So you can see or foretell where they might be, what they are most likely to do, so that you can then prepare yourself for what's going to happen. Whether they are likely to, try to cut inside, whether they, going to try and run out the side, run out the back, and then maybe do a skip pass, or run into contact. You will pick up on these things, and I think they are getting there. Now, personally, I feel this Argentina side is probably going to be the hardest test of the entire tournament, because I really like Argentina. I really rate Argentina. I feel that they are going to be a much more difficult test. Well, they were a much more difficult test than what we would find with the Wallabies, or the actual club rugby. But that's not to knock them, because they have serious talent, club rugby wise. So I don't know. I just feel with, if that had to be a full squad, a full strength Lions, Argentina would not have had half the chances that they had yesterday. And I feel once we come up to the Western Force and we come up to all of these preparatory games, in the build-up for the Wallabies tests, they are going to be running smooth. That Andy Farrell, he runs a strict shift. So, yeah, there are lots of positives in this defeat. I'm not about to cuss them out because they didn't win. Even then, they put in a good performance. 28-24 is not a performance to be ashamed of. And I know from the look on the faces of those players, they were all disappointed in that performance, and they are going to do better. So let me know what your thoughts are. Where could they have done better? And who was your standout player for the Lions? I'll catch you later. Bye.